Tech Nuggets, Microsoft OneDrive. Doing a Tech Nugget today on Microsoft OneDrive. There's been a little confusion, especially with people that are PC users and heavy desktop users, about what the difference between what OneDrive and Box or Dropbox might be. If you're not a heavy tablet user or not a heavy phone user, it might be a little like, what's the difference? They all seem the same. We're going to go through and talk about a little of that and how OneDrive is more than Box or Dropbox. A lot like Google Drive is more than Box or Dropbox. It can do that function, but it has more than that. And a lot of that comes with applications. Things that I can do with the data once it's up there in OneDrive. How do I work with it? How do I manipulate it? So I've got some diagrams. We'll talk about, the way we might have viewed it if we were just a strictly PC user, and we'll expand that drawing as we go along to sort of understand the larger ecosystem at play and how that might be useful. So our first diagram is kind of just the standard PC with a local hard drive, right? I'd make a Word document, I'd save it to my local hard drive, I'd open it, it was there. If I lost the local hard drive, like it had a mechanical failure and failed, I just lost the data unless I'd personally backed it up somewhere else. Jump drive, something like that, and I'd put it somewhere. This is kind of the mindset that a lot of PC users have right now in 2020. Where I'm used to understanding it. It's on my local drive. It's mine. I have a hold of it. I can delete it anytime I want. It's gone. Very difficult to share this. We often wound up with these weird version control problems where I send a copy to my boss edits it and sends it back to me, and I don't overwrite it. It's stuck in my email somewhere, and I re-edit the original, and now there's two versions of it floating around, and the boss and I are trying to correlate the changes he made with the changes I made, and it gets really weird. And so when Box and Dropbox came along, we were able to put things out in the cloud. It still existed on my local hard drive, but I could put it out in Dropbox and share it with my boss, and my boss could pull it down to his local, it would sync automatically down to their local machine, and they'd edit it, and it would push those changes back up to Box and Dropbox and things like that. And that seemed really, really great. And even then I could set up certain folders to be shareable and seeable only by certain people so that, my boss is the director, and that way he and I can share HR documents where everybody else doesn't see it and that kind of thing. That worked really well. And in fact, OneDrive does a lot of that kind of stuff, but it's not managed at a PC level. We have to sort of change the mental mindset that we have when we think about our data, because it's different than the tool we use to edit the data. All right, so I've expanded our diagram to understand some other things. In the past, when we wanted to use our tablet to edit on Box or Dropbox, we'd have to pull it down to the machine just like a PC. And in our new world, we're going to think about our data as being in the cloud in OneDrive. And those are basically just servers, file servers that Microsoft runs. And when we want to access that data, we're going to use either a web client, which is what our tablet might be doing, or our PC, right? We can use either one in a web browser, and we can get at the data, and we'll be able to see a listing of everything that's in OneDrive, all the files, all that kind of stuff. We go to a web browser, we go to onedrive.microsoft.com, it takes us right into OneDrive, we log in, I can see all my files that are there, I can go through and look at files I might have in Teams or somewhere else that are shared with me. This is where we're going to go to create new folders and set rights and permissions on those folders so that we can share them with my boss or something like that. It's not going to happen on the local PC or on the local tablet like it did before. So when we think about this, we need to think about it that way. Now, there is a PC client that you can install on, like a Windows client that you can install that will sync everything in OneDrive down to your PC, so you can have local files, and when you edit that local file, it shoots it back up to OneDrive to keep that versioning, much like Dropbox or Box, to keep that all in sync. The confusing part for a lot of people is you have to go to the website to set up the sharing. It is not something you do on the local PC. And that means when anybody goes to use it, they're going to go to the website to do that. So onedrive.microsoft.com. And when you go to Online Word and you say Open Files, it's going to show you your online cloud-based OneDrive folders. It's not going to show you local folders. Now, you can get it to do that, but it starts off looking at your OneDrive. And there's ways to go in and say, please show me my local drives, things that aren't shared or synced through OneDrive. So you can edit a local file with the web-based version of Word, but it's designed to be a, groupware kind of client, and it's doing that kind of thing. So we've got a representation here of online Word, which our tablet and our PC would connect to, and then online Word has access to your OneDrive to be able to do and edit and work with that kind of stuff. So I'll do a little demo of the PC version of OneDrive, and we'll see the cloud and all that kind of stuff. And I'll have a little discussion about the Windows-based, because that's what I've got in front of me, the Windows-based OneDrive client. It comes with Windows 10. It's pretty easy to set up, and it'll sync back and forth. You can pick and choose what you sync with it if you want to. So if you've got tons of stuff and not a very big hard drive, you can pick and choose those folders. All right, we'll go on to a practical demo where I'll talk about the web-based version of OneDrive and things like that. We'll look at the desktop client. And here we are in front of my Windows 10 PC, and I'm going to open up the OneDrive FAT client, desktop client. Here's my student account here, and it'll recognize that I'm an OU account, so it'll prompt me with that. And I can log in that way. And the most important thing here will be the destination. If you want to change that, you can hit the change location button and pick a different direction, or pick a different folder rather, if you need it to be somewhere else. Most of the time there's fine. It's part of your user profile. It's an okay place to put it. If you've got somewhere else you'd like to have it on a remote drive or a different USB drive or something like that, keep in mind that it's got to be attached all the time if you do that kind of stuff. Next up will come with a bunch of advertisements. Get to know more about your drive, shared folders. We're going to come back and talk about this almost immediately. A little cloud, a little checkbox, and important files and things like that. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. They'll want you to get the mobile app so that you can access your files on your phone. They're trying to make OneDrive more useful all over the place. And we'll go on and open our OneDrive, and it'll install itself, and it'll open the folder, and you can see up here the path is the same, and we have one file in it, which is my test file. These are system files that are viewable because I turned them on. You can also see the little cloud here, which is kind of interesting because it means it hasn't downloaded the file, but the first time you go to access it, it will pull it down. So we'll open it, and if you watch carefully right here, you'll see a little spin for a second, and then Notepad will open, and it'll open my test file, and there'll be a different icon. There's the spin, and Notepad opens the file. But now you can see it's turned into a little green checkbox, which means I have downloaded the file and I have it locally here. And it'll store that file and check it against the version that's in the OneDrive servers in the cloud. I think it's for a month it does that. And once it's decided that file hasn't changed in a month, it'll go back to having a little cloud, and it won't take up disk space on your local drive until the next time you try to go access it. So next up, we'll look at the web interface, and that's where we'll be able to look at, how to manage the folders and look at files, and you can upload and download files through the web interface. I just went to OneDrive.com, which takes me right here. You can also go to OneDrive.Microsoft.com, which will also take you there, and you can see it sets you up with that. There's a little login icon in the upper right, which takes me there. And the login looks very similar to the login I did with the FAT client. It'll prompt me for the same kind of information. And I never save my passwords. Evil. Do not save my passwords in browser. And there you go. And you can see that I'm looking at test file, which was the same file we were looking at before. And I can do a variety of things with it, like check the little box next to it, and it gives me a bunch of different options up here at the top that I had before. It tells me a lot about my sharing. Tells me who modified it, how big is it, when was it modified, that kind of stuff. These little three dots next to it will give me some details too when I go to work with that kind of stuff. I can upload, I can download, I can sync, which will push it back and forth and that kind of thing. We can search and sort and that kind of thing. If I want to look at it in a compact list, it'll show me in a smaller list. If I want to look at it by tiles, some of it's just how you like to view it. It's kind of a dogs playing poker kind of discussion. What's art and what's not. We can look at recent files. So if you know you've pushed that file up there recently, and I should be able to find it easily, it would probably be under there. That kind of thing. And under shared, we'll be able to go and look and see what we've shared and how we've shared it. And you can see I've shared a file here somewhere along the way. We can look at our recycle bin to see what's been deleted and not. Usually you start off here in My Files. So we can check the box, and we can say share, and we can share it with other people. I'll share it with my staff account. copy a link to it, and I type it in, and it finds me. Look at that. I'm going to share it with myself, and I send it off, and it'll say share it. We can do this with a folder. We can do this with a file. It'll send a link off to me for that kind of stuff, and I get my staff account will get an email saying, hey, you've got a file that's been shared with you, that kind of stuff. We can, it's relatively straightforward. We can go to new when we're not clicked on anything, and we can ask for a new file. We can create new folders. You can see here the online version of Word and everything. We'll create a new Word document here. It'll open up Word Online, and we can see it's created a Word Online document. And, type test doc 1, and, we can go over here and we can open them and look at that kind of stuff. We're going to go over Office documents in another Tech Nugget, but it's there. You'll notice it opened it in a different tab, so we'll be able to see it. It just calls it document, even though Word, has opened it, and we'll see it there. And if we go down and you can see it just synced right down here at the bottom, and we double click on it, and all of a sudden it shows up as a doc file. Now, this machine does not have Word locally installed on it, so it doesn't know what to do with it. But if I'd had Word locally installed on it, I could have seen it. All right, and you'll see that doc1 file, docx file is not shared. It's still private. So if we want to create a folder where everything I put in it is shared, we can create a shared folder 1. And I've created a folder, and we can share the folder, and that'll share everything in the folder. By clicking on the little thing next to it, and I click up and share, and again I'll share it with my staff account, and it'll find me in the directory since it's part of all that. And there we go. And whatever I put in that folder will show up and will be shared, and I can share folders with different people, groups of people, that kind of thing. I can move things into it and grab and let go of it, and it should move it in there maybe. We can see the shared folder showed up, and if I go like this, it may take a little bit to sync. It is not normally instantaneously, but I refreshed the browser here, and ta-da, I hit F5 and refresh the browser, and it moves it into the shared folder, which means all of a sudden it's now a shared document because it's in the shared folder. This should be very similar if you've used Dropbox or Box or anything like that, work very similarly. The primary difference is you're going to do all of the setup of the sharing in the web interface. You can't do any of the setup for the sharing in the FAT client. It just doesn't work that way. I've had a number of people ask me about how they get to files that are shared within Teams, did another Tech Nugget on Teams. There's some confusion about that. That's just understandable. The files that are shared within a team stay with the team. They're not your files. They're the team's files. And when you do that kind of thing, it gets a little exciting to try to figure out, how do I get that to sync with my local OneDrive client so that I can sync those back and forth and work with them on a local level and still have them sync with the right team and that kind of thing. And I've done a little digging, and the easiest way I've been able to figure out how to do it is to go up here to this thing in the top. I'm sure there's a name for it, the app launcher, apparently, what the tool says, and go into Teams. So we launch Teams, and it should kick me into Teams, that my student account. And you saw this earlier if you watched the Tech Nugget. I'm going to go into the team, and over here in Files, I selected Files at the top. Originally, I think it starts with Posts or something like that in the General channel, and you can look at other channels, and I clicked on Files. And in here, I'm able to go to Sync. And when I do that, it's going to say, okay, I want to sync with your local OneDrive application. That's what this is asking. Remember all my links for the local OneDrive app, which is generally what you want. I usually click the Remember Me button. There's no other OneDrive app that I'd be using to sync files. So we say Open Link, and it wants me to log into OneDrive, but I'm already logged in. So it knows what to do with that kind of thing. And of course, it gives us a little message over here that we can minimize, and it goes back. And we should go look and see where that goes to on your local drive. Right, so one of the easier ways to get to this kind of stuff is to manipulate the little cloud here. And if you click on the cloud, you'll see that it gives you a little bit of information. If you right-click on the cloud, though, you can see up here at the top, you can open your Ohio University folder, which is my team one, but I can also click on this one, which will open up mine. So we'll minimize the browser here. So we can see we've got a team one that's showing the teams folders, and they're being synced back and forth. And you can see my personal one up here. So the way I did that was to right-click on the cloud, and it opens up both of them. It's a menu inside a menu. It's a little clunky, I don't disagree. But at the top, if you have multiple teams, it'll show multiple ones that you've gone into the web interface and said sync, and let it sync with your local client. You'll see multiples of them. But that should let you sync a team with your fat client that you have rights inside. All right, well, I hope you've appreciated this Tech Nugget. I hope it was informative and interesting. We'll do more Tech Nuggets. Stay tuned.